And then, so as the new school boundaries take effect, what role do you see the school board playing? What do you think they'll need to do?
Well, a lot of what the school board does anyway, of course, is set policy and hire the superintendent. But another function that's not really spelled out, but is to be very visual. You know, the school board member is a mouthpiece for the citizens, and so you know, you can't just say, oh well, that boundary committee decided that, and there you go, and why are you complaining, because that was decided 3 years ago. You know, so much of it is people are always going to come to you with complaints. And so as a school board member, my role will be to seek out people and make sure they are talking about education. They may want to talk about the Cardinals winning the World Series or Mizzou doing some bracket in basketball, but you know, and that's all great. But you know, as a board member, you have to really try to involve people with the discussion of education. And so as the boundaries get closer and people are getting adjusted to them, and as you know, for every person that says, oh, I'm going to sell my house because I don't want to be in that boundary, there's going to be someone in the other side that says, oh, I'm going to sell my house because I don't want to be in that boundary. I mean, we have great schools. And so you know, it'll be challenging for people just because it's new. And there'll be headaches, you know, there'll be a bus that won't show up, and there'll be a certain light, you know, that the contractor didn't finish his punch list and, you know, get it all figured out. But that's true with even if you build yourself a new house. So it'll be exciting. As a school board member, I think, you know, your responsibility is to really listen to all segments of the community and to say, oh, yeah, that we blew that. You know, take responsibility for it. And how can we fix this? Who do we go to fix this? You know, the school board member's job is not to decide how many pencils there are going to be at Battle High School or what are the bus routes. The school board member's job is to facilitate and help make sure that there's someone on that. And if they haven't done a good job, we hold the superintendent accountable to say, okay, let's figure out how we're going to solve this. And also taking responsibility. You know, when you have a leaky roof at Hickman High School or a bad mold problem at Parkgate Elementary, you know, that's a school board that has to say, oh man, you know, I wasn't on the district 15 years ago when that should have been handled, but it's a problem now, and what are we going to do about it?
So if you were elected to the school board,
when I am elected?
Yeah, exactly. what would your main goal or main thing you hope to accomplish?
My primary goal, as I've said, is you know, is twofold. Why I don't have a particular issue that I'm pushing and want to, you know, pound my fist on, but I want to eliminate the trailers, and of course that will happen with the passing of the tax levy or the bond issue, and that'll contribute to that. But you know, we are a growing dynamic community, and so people are always going to want to come here, and so that will be an ongoing challenge. I think we could build 3 elementary schools tomorrow and we'd still be challenged. You know, the one thing you do with a church congregation is you always build a larger sanctuary than you need, because you know that it'll get filled. People seek that out. And so with the schools, my primary task would be to eliminate the trailers. I'll give you an example. My son's in a trailer, and he likes it, and they like it fine. He's at Russell Boulevard Elementary. But, you know, when it's so cold or when it's raining out, every time that door opens, it disrupts learning. Every time some kid says, I got to go to the bathroom, you've got to coordinate, because the building's on lockdown so that you only have one entrance because of our security measures. So while they want to get in the building, you have to coordinate to go open the door or just hold it or do other thing. And to a 10-year-old, that's distracting. When one kid opens or closes the door, that's just a distraction at that age. So that will help, and it'll help long term, as we know from the Worley Street addition, building for the staff over there. You know, that's going to dramatically help our funding in the future. We're not paying rent, and we have lower utilities, et cetera. So the trailers are the number one, and the number two is the increased budget going to early childhood education, which I think is the key to closing the achievement gap. So those are my two issues.
Yeah. So for my last question, what are the major challenges you see the district facing in the coming years or in the future?
Well, primarily the budget. You know, that's the major challenge. Like I said at the start, the every other district is faced with the same challenge. So it's not like we have a unique problem, but it's still a problem. And I think, you know, part of the role of the school board will be to decide how much risk are we willing to take with our budget, how much negotiating. It's going to be hard to negotiate some things. In some ways, the advantage of the bond is that bonds are desired. So people see the bond issue as maybe well, it's a good investment for some people, so we can actually get a pretty good rate with that. But in the next couple of years, yeah, it's the budget's going to be to the tough one. But I'll bet you that every school board candidate that's ever run has probably said the number one is, even in good times, they probably say, oh, it's the budget. Well, it's because in good times you're wanting to add, special math tutors, and you're wanting to add special paras, and you're wanting to do all these things. The state has hampered so much of school districts by not fully funding, and the state has these requirements that you have to jump through these certain hoops in order to get certain types of your budget, and I'm not saying that's all terrible and bad and I'm out to fight it, but I'm just saying we have to creatively figure out a way that we can meet the requirements that the state has, but some are good, but also give those teachers the freedom to say, you know what, we're going to cut you some slack here. We realize that so much of your day is spent filling out forms or doing these things, and we need to figure out how we can let teachers teach. And so, yeah, it's that budget. It's going to be a tough one.